Okay, as I told you before, React Native is similar to React, but it's built for developing mobile application. So as we can say that building native applications using JavaScript. So you can use your skills in JavaScript to build application for phones like iOS and Android. And they are really native application. They are not web application which are responsive, that they are working on desktop and also on mobile phone using some CSS skills to make it responsive as an application to work on the phone. No, they are really native. So as you see, we can build two applications by using one language, which is, or for example, one framework using JavaScript, which will work on Android as a native application, on iOS as a native application as well. So most of companies nowadays are going forward React Native because in that case you are saving money for hiring a team on iOS to know, for example, Xcode or the language which are related to iOS, and also to hire another team which knows Java, which is also used to build Android application. No, you need just to hire one team who knows JavaScript and basics of React to build two applications in the same time using React Native. So in that way, the company will save a lot of money. That's why it's going forward that. Okay, maybe you will tell me, okay, this is dangerous, like how I can depend on JavaScript. What if my application is built and has a lot of security and it must be accurate, so I need really to build it as native. Okay, I will give you example of top companies using React Native, for example, Facebook, Instagram, and also Discord, Skype, Pinterest, Tesla. So all of those companies are using nowadays React Native for their applications on both platforms, Android and iOS. So in that way, you don't need to hire a lot of knowledge about iOS or Android. If you know JavaScript, I guarantee to you that you can deploy some back-end applications, for example, using NodeJs, and also mobile application using React Native and React. I'm sure when you were reading about React Native, you heard about Expo. Expo is also command line interface to build projects of React Native, and it's providing with many tools and components which are ready to be used in React Native. The main difference between React Native and Expo is in the code structure. For example, as you see on the left, we have a React Native project, and we see that we have two folders which contains Android project and iOS. This is the project, the real project of Android, which is inside it Java or Kotlin. And also we have the iOS, which is written with Swift. So in this case, when you create a React Native project, you are creating as well the Android and iOS project. And in this way, you will have access in your project to those modules inside Android and iOS. This what gives React Native CLI the reality of using the native libraries. But in Expo, you will generate only a very pure JavaScript project, and you can use only the JavaScript here because Expo is used also to build its own native libraries and own native components. Many people nowadays prefer using React Native. React Native is more stable and more efficient, and we will see what are the benefits of React Native. Expo is for beginners, as I will tell you at the end of this lecture. So if we go to the React Native CLI, you can add native modules which are written Java, Objective-C, also with Swift, and also you can add them to your project directly, and you can use them in JavaScript as a JavaScript library. And also setting up a project is easy and it can be done in a minute. But of course, setting up the environment takes a little bit of time. More third libraries are supported. You will have a lot of third libraries written with React Native CLI, and you can use them in your project. The most benefit and the nice benefit of React Native CLI that you have less size of production files. For example, if you have building an application with React Native CLI, you will see that you have, for example, 10 megabytes of the APK file and as well for the iOS file. But when you build a project with Expo, the file or the production file will come very bigger, and it has mostly 60 or 70 megabyte in front of the React Native CLI, which has 10 megabyte only. This because Expo is also adding the files and the modules and the components inside the APK file, so it can be used in the application. But here, when we are using native modules which are already in your system or on your phone, then you don't need to have a big file of production. As well, I have built a project which is made as an e-shop, e-commerce, built with Expo. And also there are a lot of courses about Expo, and there is not so much courses about React Native CLI. So I prefer to make this course with React Native CLI to see the benefit and the difference between it and Expo. And of course, if you want, you can enroll to our course, which is talking and built totally with Expo, which is building an eShop on mobile phone. So here there is some recommendation from React Native project. As you see, it says that if you are new on mobile development, the easiest way to get started is with Expo CLI. But if you are already familiar with mobile development, you may want to use React Native CLI. Okay, maybe you will ask me, you said at the beginning that I don't need any requirement of mobile development. Okay, yeah, really, you don't need. For example, for this project which we are going to build, you don't need so much skills in mobile development. I will just teach you the most important things, how to import modules, native libraries, and use them in your project. That's it. We are not going to edit a lot of things in the native libraries. We are just going to call them to our project. And of course, there is one not good benefit of using React Native CLI, that you need to install Xcode or Android Studio to run your project on your phone. But in this way, you guarantee that you are really testing your tool without a middleware which is built in not native way. Some days ago, I asked on React Native community on Facebook, what do you prefer for development of mobile application using React Native? And most of the answers and votes came with React Native CLI. And as you see in some answers of experts, they said Expo is like using training wheel for a bicycle. You will eventually have to take them off. And also another answer was, I keep seeing Expo is for beginners. And of course, as I told you, if you are beginner, you can just enroll to the other course where we are building eShop, so you can learn really practical using Expo. Okay, to start building our environment, we need first NodeJs. NodeJs is a tool for providing and installing libraries which we need for our project. To install NodeJs, you just need to go to the website nodejs.org, and here you will find two installation methods. One is latest features, which is called current, and also recommended for most users. Always, I go always for recommended for most users, which is more stable, and it's providing me with the most important tools which I need for my development, and which is fit with the most updated libraries which are available. And of course, Node.js is available for all systems, not only for Windows or Mac, it's available for Linux, for all other operating systems. So you just select yours and then make sure that you have installed it here. After that, we open the installation and we just go next with it, installing any application, and it will be installed on your machine. So that's it. I have it already on my machine and I have it already installed, so I don't need to install it again. So after that, you open the terminal. So the terminal, you can open it like a terminal in MacBook is you can open the applications and you check for terminal, or in Windows you can run and then find command line, which is called command line, then the standard command line. And then you need to check what version of Node.js you have. So the most important thing that I want you to be sure that you have the right version of Node. So otherwise you will not be able to run most of the commands if you have old version. So how we can know the version which we have? After installation, we can go to the terminal as I told you, and you put like node -v, and with that you can see the version which you have. It's better to develop with React Native CLI to use the version which is 12 and above. So make sure that you have the version 12 and more, and then you will be able to code without any problem with React Native CLI. Okay, now we are going to set up our environment. I advise you always to follow the documentation which is provided by React Native formally. So when you go there, you will see all the steps which you need for installation of your environment. So first of all, you go to reactnative.dev, and then you go to the docs. Here you will see something which is called environment setup, and this will be up to date always based on the versions, based on the operating systems of Android and iOS. Based on that, you will see always the latest documentation. I will show you how we can follow it. First of all, as I told you, we have to follow not Expo CLI. We are going to work with React Native CLI, which is most preferred by most mobile developers. But of course, if you are beginner, I prefer to you to go to my course, which is related about working with Expo, and I have built there all the environment which you need for working with Expo. But now we will work with React Native CLI. Then we go to the operating system. The operating system, as you see, it's available for Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. I will work here with Mac OS. Of course, you can follow Windows as well. All of them are the same, but with small differences like setting up the paths which we want for running our commands. But as I told you, it's always better to follow the documentation for the versions. And as well, you need to target also the operating system which you are going to deploy for. Of course, we are going to work with Android and iOS in the same time, and both of them has a different installation. I will start now with Android. So first of all, we will go to the Mac OS, then we go to the target Android, and then we install the dependencies like we have here in Node, and we need to install other stuff which I am going to explain it by detail. So first of all, we will work with the Android as you see here in the documentation, and in the lecture after that we are going to work with iOS to see how we can also run the iOS. Unfortunately, like on Windows, when you want to work on Windows and you have iOS, you cannot support deployment or development of iOS application. This because that iOS application need to run something called Xcode, and Xcode is required and is only installed on Mac system. So for that, I am using sometimes VMware virtual machine. I am installing Mac OS on my Windows, and then I am able to work with iOS. In that way, if you don't have MacBook, you can install the virtual machine. There are a lot of ways to run a virtual machine. Just Google it and you will find it immediately, and you will see how you can install virtual machine of Mac OS on Windows. So that's why I am making this course with Mac OS currently, so it's more general, so we can work with Android and iOS in the same time. So in the next lecture, I am going to show you how we can start installation for Android systems. Okay, in this lecture, we are going to talk how to set up our Android environment. So first of all, we go, as we said, to the documentation, and then we go to Mac OS and then Android. And in Android, there is a tool which is called a brew. or Homebrew, which is helping for installation of application or some tools easily to your Mac system. So if you didn't install Homebrew, it's better to install it. It will help you to install a lot of applications without bothering yourself to find the installation for it. So for that, for example, I want to install Node as I showed you previously. I just go to my terminal and I run brew install Node as I told you previously. So if you go here, you will see that brew install Node, and also there is another tool which is called Watchman. This is very great tool. It's made by Facebook. It's going to watch your changes on your file system, and it's highly recommended because it's better performance for your application and watching the updates on the files. So let's try to install this, because before we installed already Node as I showed you manually without brew, but now I am going to install this with a brew. So after installation of Homebrew, it's exactly the same. You just copy the command to the terminal and you will have Homebrew. After that, you will be able to use the command brew, so you can install any program which is available in that package. So let's try, for example, to install Watchman. So I will go to the terminal and then I will paste brew install Watchman, and then we will wait for installation, and we will see that it's installing all the program for me, including the paths, including all the information which are needed for development to use this tool. Okay, as you see, the installation have been done. So I was like skipping the video because it takes some time. So now it's installed. Let's go to the documentation again and see what we have here. So as well, we need for that a Java development kit. This is required for Android systems, so we need also to install that. So the same thing, we are going to copy this command which is called brew install, and then we can see open JDK, which is required for that. And if they said if you have already installed JDK on your system, just make sure that you have JDK 8 or newer. So you have to be sure that you have version 8. But let's install that with also Homebrew. So I will paste this command again and wait for the installation as we saw previously with the Watchman. Sometimes when you need like some privilege for administrator, it's asking you for password. So you just need to put the password for your like Mac system, and then it will be installed easily for your machine. So as you see here that it's successfully installed. So we go again to the next step. So we have here after that installation of Android Studio. Android Studio, we are not going to use it as editor, but we need the SDK from it. We need SDK, SDK platform, and also virtual device, because we need also to see our changes of the application. Like as any application you run it on Android, we need to see our changes on the on some phone, some virtual phone. So it's better to install Android SDK, and also the SDK is required as a modules part of React Native, because as we said, React Native is using the modules which are available in Android projects and iOS, as we explained previously. So first of all, we need to install and download Android Studio. So to install Android Studio, it's also the same process. We need to download Android Studio. It's available as well for all operating systems, like for example Windows and also Linux and also Chrome OS, for all operating systems. So it's better to choose the one which is suitable for your system, and then you download it. And the installation process is very easily. You just go next, and then it will be installed on your machine, and we are going to run the Android Studio, and we have to specify some options as I will show you. So as you see here, I have the download button. It takes about 900 megabytes, and after that you install it and then run the application. I have it installed already on my operating system, and when you run Android Studio, you will see this window. Like you will need to create a new project, a new Flutter project, or you want as well to some other types of projects. What we need to do here to go to configure, and here we are going to work as the instructions of setting up the development using React Native. So let's go there. As you see here, it says like install the Android SDK. So after we have to go to the, you see this window, we need to click on configure and then SDK manager. And SDK manager is always updated here. You have always to follow the versions which are available here. So it's better to install them exactly how they are described here. Always. So when you see a different version in the documentation than this video, you have to follow the documentation as well. So I go to the configure, I go to SDK manager, and then we have to check that we have Android 10Q. So we need to install this one, as you see here. So first we need to have Android 10Q. Of course, you can as well check out the default installed one, because when you install Android Studio, it comes by default with this one. So it's better to follow the documentation and say Android 10Q. Okay. What else? It says that you need make sure the following items are checked. So we need to expand this Android 10 and we check Android SDK platform. So how we can do that? You go again to this window and then you say show package detail. So when we click on show package detail, we will see more details about this. So it says to us, make sure that Android SDK platform 29 is available or checked. And also, as you see here, we have something else, which is Intel x86 Atom 64 system image. So we need also to check that one. You see, it's by default is not checked. So we need to check that as well. So it's important to check show package detail. You will be able to see all the detail of the package. As well, there is something else we need to be sure of, that Google API Intel x86 Atom system, we have also to check that as well. So when we go here, so we have this one. So it's very important to follow the documentation. Next, it says that select the SDK tools and check the box, show package detail as well, and expand Android SDK build tools. So let's do that. So we go here and then we go to SDK tools, and then we go here and again we say check packages. Like as we see, show detail of the package, and then we will see like some version. Let's say which version it says that we need to select. Make sure that you have 2902. So we have to go here and we check 2902. You have to be sure that you install this package as well. Of course, you have freedom to keep all of this, or you can remove them based on the space which is available on your machine. After that, we have selected everything. As you see here, we click on apply. So we selected everything as documentation. We click on apply, and it's going to install the things which we have selected. Installed, our estimation is 2 GB. So you have to make sure that you have really the space, because they are big, and you have to be sure that everything is installed properly, because it will take about 8 GB. So we click OK, and it's going to download all the things. I am going to fast this video for you to not take so much time. Okay, the installation now successful, and as you see here, we have Android 10 as requirement is installed, and also the SDK tools as we saw previously. If we go to show packages, we make sure that everything got installed as described in the documentation. Okay, we click OK, we go away from Android Studio, and then we go to the next step where it's written configure Android home environment variable. And in Mac, you do it differently from Windows. So we need to make sure that Android commands are working fine on my machine. So depends on the type of your terminal. I am now talking about Mac. Okay, so if you want to see Windows, you can skip a little bit the video. I will show you on Windows. So first, for Mac, you need to go add the following lines to your this home bash profile, and here we need to edit this file and add those lines. So first of all, we need to make sure that we have really installed Android SDK on this path. So how we can do that? First, you go to the Finder in Mac, and then you click go, and then you will see here library. So when you click on library, it will open for you the library on Finder. So you can find it here, and you will go and see that there is Android folder, and inside this Android folder there is SDK. So here what we need to have, so we make sure that we have really this path: home, library, Android, SDK. Okay, so that's all nice. So we have now two types of terminals in Mac. So as you see here, I am using the one which is prefixed with ZSH. So this one is my terminal which I am using for my applications. So you can do the both steps which I am going to do now, so to make sure that all your terminals works fine. So first I will edit home.bash profile. So how we can do that? I will open the terminal again, and as you see, I tried previously, I have a command which is called sudo nano and then edit some file. So I am going to put this command again. So why I have sudo? Because I have sudo because I need permissions for that. You cannot edit this file without privileges. Nano is editor, which is internally installed on Mac system or terminals, so you can edit files through it. So you can say sudo nano, as we say here, and it will open the file for you, and then you need to export and copy and paste what is written in the documentation. So let's copy all of this as we see here, and then go back to the terminal again and paste them here. Okay, nice, we have all of them. After that you need to quit, you need to exit. So here there are some shortcuts. You need to say that we need Ctrl X. So you need to press Ctrl X in Mac, and it will offer you that save modify modified buffer. So you can say yes, I want to save them. So after that, file name to write, so it will ask you overwrite this, so you just press enter and it will be saved. To be sure that you have all the edits done, you just click it again, you will see that, or open the command again, you will see that all of them already done. So I go again, I Ctrl X, I go back to the command line or command terminal. I go to the next command where I am using ZSH editor, so we can then edit this file. So you go to the terminal and exactly the same sudo nano and the same, and then you paste this and it will open for you again some editor. You can export also the paths which are required here. So again, we need to copy all of those commands and go to the terminal, and then we paste those. We can say here, you can paste them under it, and then you press save, or you can say Ctrl X to save it exactly how we did previously. Okay, overwrite the data, and everything is saved fine. So to make sure that our command line is accepting that, you can just need to run this command, which is called echo Android home. So we go again to the terminal and then we paste this command, and you will see that we got empty. This is because you need to restart the terminal to see the changes which are done on your terminal. Otherwise, if still doesn't work, you need to check again this zip profile as we saw previously, and make sure if you have export path at the end. So previously, as you see here, I made it was like here. So this export path was here. So I just move it down to be at the end, to the last. So in that case, we can export all the passes which are defined here. So just make sure this is like troubleshooting you can do, so you can make sure that your terminal is working. So I'm going to close this terminal and open it again to see if I am really able to see Android home path. So we close it, open the terminal again. I will make a zoom. So I will paste the command echo Android home. Nice, as you see, I have it now, the path, like I am copying or echoing this or printing the command or the path which is like saved in my command file, which is for ZSH. So here, as you see, that everything is working fine, so we are sure that our paths are set right here. So it's written here that you can make sure that everything is working fine. So after that, there is React Native command line interface. We will see this step after we finish as well for iOS. So I will keep this step for now. For Windows, if I go to the Windows, setting the paths is very easy. Go to environment variables, which are set in Windows, and it's all explained here. So you just go to the control panel and then user accounts, and then user accounts again, change my environment variable, and you need to add the path which is installed on your machine for Android SDK. Normally it comes from users, and then your username comes here, and then app data local Android SDK. That's it. And you need then to make sure that all paths are set fine. So you need to open PowerShell or command line, copy and paste git child item env, and then verify that Android home is added. It's exactly like how we make sure that we have Android home variable is set. So this is the way how we set up the Android environment for Windows and Mac. Next, we are going to explain about iOS, and after that, unfortunately, as I told you that iOS is only available on Mac, so I am going to explain it only on Mac. We will not have explanation for Windows. So Mac OS and also the iOS system, which will be in the next lecture, and after that, we will start our React Native or first React Native application. Okay, in this lecture we are going to talk about installation for environment development for iOS system. So we have worked with Mac OS, Android, and I am going to move to iOS system. Installing for iOS system is exactly the same steps how we did previously with Watchman and the other tools, but we need as well to install some application which is called Xcode. Xcode is available on Mac App Store. And when you install it, just make sure that you have the version 10 and newer. So this is the most important information that you have to know. After installation of the Xcode, there is something which is called like you have to check the command line tools. So after the installation, I have installed Xcode previously on my operating system. I go to the Xcode and then I click on Preferences. So when you go to Preferences, you will see here like some tabs. One of them is Locations. Just make sure that command line tool is selected, that Xcode based on the version which you installed. So after that, we need to install as well Simulator. Simulator is existing in components. So when you go to components, you need to install some simulator. I am installing now the latest simulator of iOS version for mobile phones of iOS. So I am installing 14.4. Of course, when you see higher version is better to install it, so your application can work with the latest version of iOS systems. So normally these sizes are available here. You need as well to have space on your PC to obey the size of the simulator. After that, we go to the next step after installation, the Cacao Pods. Cacao Pods is like Ruby installation, and it's available for Mac OS. It's providing us with a lot of libraries for iOS or packages for iOS. You have optional, you can install it. So I am going as well to install it through this command. I will open my terminal and then I will paste this command here, and then it will ask me for password. I will paste my password as well, and it will install for me something called Cacao Pods. If you want to know more about it, there is like a link here. You can check it. So you go to Cacao Pods. There are a lot of packages and libraries for Objective-C projects, so you can have them for like your applications. We will talk about that later when we are going to use these Cacao Pods in our course. But currently we are going to use React Native components, but it's better to use this. So for more information, you can take a look at this link. You can see getting started with Cacao Pods. You can as well install it as the instructions which we have here. But currently we don't need it. We will need it later. The editor which I am going to use in this course will be Visual Studio Code. As I told you, we installed Xcode and we installed also Android Studio, but we are not going to use them as editors. We are going to use Visual Studio Code, which is very fast and dynamic, and it's very good for development of React Native. So as you see here, we have code.visualstudio.com. You go here and then you click on Download Mac Universal, and you will have the version for Mac. And as well, if you click on this arrow, you will see other version for Windows and Linux. So installation of Visual Studio Code will end up with installation of Visual Studio Code on your machine, and you will have something like this. So in the next lecture, we will see how we are going to add some extensions to rapid up our coding skills. On Windows, it will be a normal installation file, and also on Mac, you can install it and it will be downloaded as a zip file. And when you open this zip file, it will be extracted and you will have here Visual Studio Code.app. So you can move this application to your applications in Mac OS. So it will be located here. I have installed it already, so I don't need to do that. So as you see here, we have Visual Studio Code app, and when you open it, you will see the Visual Studio editor installed on your machine. So as you see here, I have here my Visual Studio Code is installed on my machine. For Windows, it will be exactly the same, but it will be executable file, so you can install it like any application on Windows. Visual Studio Code comes with extra extensions that you can install them for some specific behavior of your Visual Studio Code. So to visit the libraries or for example, the market for those extensions, you just need to click on extensions on Visual Studio Code, as you see here from this icon. I will click on it, and then you will see a lot of suggested extensions. So let's search first for our first extension, which it will be React Native tools, and this extension is very helpful for our React Native application, as we will see later. So for example, it will help us to create some snippets. So as you see, it's very helpful and it's rapiding up our coding, and it has a lot of features like autocomplete of the things. So we will see the benefit of this extension later, but now let's install it. So I click on installation and it will be installed in my extensions. Another extension which we need to install as well to speed up our performance is called React Native React/Redux snippets for ES6, ES7. So this we are going to use in this course. So what is this extension? This one is making for us some shortcuts which we can write, and it will generate for us the full code. For example, as you see here, I have some imports. For example, I run EMR, and then it will code for me import React from React. So it's like a shortcuts which we can write, and it will import for us based on the things. For example, I have IMRPC, it will import for me a pure component from React. So it's some shortcuts which we need to use, as we will see later in the course, and it will speed up productivity. The next extension which we need to install is called Prettier. Prettier is a very nice extension which is used for code formatting. So when you save a file, it will automatically format your code based on some configuration which will come with React Native installation, as we will see later. So first, you just need to install this extension and make sure that you have the option which is called save or format on save. So how you can find this option? You just need to go to the settings of VS Code. So you just go to code, and then you will select preferences and then settings. So when you click on settings, you can find something called format on save. So that's the command. So you just need to be sure that format on save, this option is activated. Otherwise, the format on save will not work for you. So that's it for now. We will see how we will use Prettier. As I told you, it will be installed automatically, the configuration with the React Native project. The last thing, or the last extension which we need, is something like optional. If you want, you can install it or not. It's called Material and then icon theme. So this is like giving you like when you have a file structure, it will put the icons of the files based on the type of the file. So it's better also to install it to make like very eye comfortable for the file list which you have. Here after installation, it will give you a select file icon theme. You just need to use this one. So I will use material icon theme or SETI. Let's use this one, and then you will see like your file list will be with a specific icons of the files in the editor. So those icons, you see them for example like this. So every file finished with CSS, it will have icon like this. Every file finished for example with npm will have like this, JavaScript, and etc. So a lot of icons are available, which will make for you easy to take a look to your file structure and pick up the file which you want. So those extensions which we need for now, we are going to build our first project or React Native project, and we will see all the effectiveness of all of those extensions later. Okay, now we are ready for starting a new application with React Native. In the documentation, there is a tool which is called MPX, which providing ability to create applications like a boilerplates, and this MPX is part of npm. It comes always with the newest version of Node, so make sure that you have the latest version of Node installed. So when we execute this command, we are going to create a new project in React Native. So to make sure that everything is working fine, let's execute this command. First of all, I will go to my terminal. So if you remember, we have this terminal or the command line which can be available on Windows. So make sure that you are on desktop or any folder where you prefer, for example on your hard disk. So here I used the desktop, so I am going to use this folder to create my project. So I am going to copy this command, as you see, like npx react native init, and then you specify the name of the project which you are going to work with. So let's try that. So I will go first to the terminal, and then I will paste this command, but I will give, for example, name, we can say course project. So just like for now, to make sure that everything is working fine for us. It's better to have always like the capitalized letters of the name of the project, so we can have course project like this. So now I am going to press enter, and then it will create for me on the desktop a folder where it will be called course project. So if I go to my desktop, as you see here, it will create for me a new project. But this process will take a little bit of time because it's going to download some resources to create the project. So as you see here, it's on progress. I am going to skip this video because it takes about 5 minutes. So I'm going to skip this video and I will show you when it's ready. So as you see here, the installation is done. So it's downloading some templates, copying template, processing the template, and then some CocoaPods dependencies as we saw previously. And here are some instructions for running the project on Android and also instruction to run it on iOS. So now, as you see here, is installed. If I go now to my desktop, I will see the project is already here. So as you see that I have here the course project. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and open the project there. So as you see, we have here the folder, and we can click on this folder explorer or file explorer, and then you will see icon or button which is called open folder. And here we are going to open the folder of our project where we have located on desktop. So I will go here, course project, and I will open this folder as you see here. So if you take a look, we will have all the file here. So we are ready for programming. Let's have a quick look to the file structure of the project. Let's start from up to down. So first we will have a test, which will be like a test file for testing the application, like end-to-end test or unit test, which will be created here. As well, we are going to have a VS Code setting. So always when you want to have a specific settings with your project, you can add those settings of Visual Studio Code if your whole team is using Visual Studio Code. For example, the font size of the code as you see here. So you can override the settings which are default in your editor by the settings which are specified inside this file or this folder, and we will see that later. And now we have Android project. This will be a pure Android project. So it will be written in Java. You will see here Gradle. We are not going to handle or work with this project because, as I told you, that React Native is interacting with Android and iOS project to generate for us a native apps. So we are not going to work so much with these two folders, only when we want to add or delete some specific modules, as I will show you later. Node module is the Node.js libraries, so where we are going to install the libraries in JavaScript which we need for running our project. For example, if you open this folder, you will see that you have React Native library, you have TypeScript, you have a lot of libraries which are needed to run this project. Buck config is something like for Maven, is a server which can be run for Android, so we also going to work with it if we need it. Editor config is something like, if you remember I talked about Prettier, you can also set some configuration for your editor in the like here. So you can have a config for this editor, but it will be overridden by the Prettier IRC, as I will talk about it later. ESLint is also something important for a project. ESLint is a tool which comes with an extension. If you want, you can install it, which is called ESLint. And when you install ESLint, it will show you live the code errors which you have in your project. For example, if I go here to app.js, I will have some error which is showing me that, okay, there is this can be used only in TypeScript but cannot be used in JavaScript file. So I mean the import. So in that case, you can as well skip this rule. You can edit the rule in ESLint RC file. So ESLint RC file is like a file where contain the rules for your code. So in that case, okay, the project will run, but you will have some typings error. For example, if I put here double quotation, the project will not like it, or ESLint will not like it. It will say it's better to have a single quotation as it's set in the rules of the project. So to look more about ESLint, you can just go to ESLint and you can check the rules. There are a lot of rules that you can set for your project. So for example, I will take one of them. For example, no console. Console log is heavy for the browser. When you forget them in your project, the project will run with console log and then it will make for you some issues in performance. So it's better always to remove the console log from the project. Here there is a law or rule for ESLint. Whenever there is a console log, it will show under it error. So you have to show that, okay, please remove the console log. So when you want to work on one of those rules, for example, as we see here that we took this one, I just go here and check at the end something called rules, and then you can specify the rule which is called no console off, or you can set it to 1 or 0. So in React, we can use that as well, these rules. So if you go to the project and go ESLint RC, you just need to add a field which is called rules, and this rules will be an object, and inside this object you put your rule. For example, I am going to put the no console as you see here. For example, if I go and we copy this one, so we will say, or we will have no console. So here we put this one, but as we said, this will like only single quotation, so we put it in single quotation, and we say here that on, like turn it on for me, or this error console, turn it on. When you save, as you see here, it's already formatted as I told you previously, because we put on save format. So Prettier already formatted it for me. So when I go to app, for example, I want to add here a console log. So we can add like some console log here, like as you see. So it will give me the error unexpected console statement. So it's better to turn it on always, to remember that I have console log error in my application. So if you want to disable it, just go again to the rule and just put here of as it's written in the description of the project. And as you see, now the error is not showing, or the warning is not showing anymore. So that's it. So you can specify the rule which you want. You have to search for rules, and then you can do what you want with those rules, and you can make your project stable and unified code-wise from all the team which are sharing the code base. So let's keep this rule, for example, and let's remove the console log, and let's continue with the file structure. Flow config, you don't need it for now. It's just about how the flow of exporting and building the project will behave. Git attributes, also we don't need it for now. Git ignore is very important file where you are going, for example, when you link the project to some Git repository, then you don't need to push some files. For example, node modules is very huge. So is this folder about 300 megabyte when you start a new React Native project. So you don't need to push this code or this folder to Git repository. You just need to push the libraries which you are using inside your project. So I am excluding node modules from the Git to be pushed with my commits and pushes to the code base on GitHub. Prettier, as I told you, there are prettier configuration already which are configuring this prettier, and as you see here that we have prettier is defined here like down, and it will show you always the errors and the rules which are following based on this file. App.json is the file which is entry point for our project. Like, for example, we can say the home page of the application. As we will see later, when we will run the application, we will see how all of this rendered in our phone, and we will see how we can edit it and adjust it to make our application. We will talk about this file later. App.json is just like some properties for the application, like the name and display name, so you can add the properties which you want. Babel config is something for ES or ES6, ES5 is a builder which converting the JavaScript ES6, ES5 to vanilla JavaScript, and you can the browser or any browser can understand it. Index.js, it's also the main entry point of your application. So here the application is specified. I say like index.js, when I start the project, it will start from here, index.js, and I specify the name of the file which is called app name, and here it will start for me the app name from the app which I have that is imported from here. So the app.js actually is called inside index.js, which is the root main point of your project. And now we have metro config, which is transferring the project from JavaScript base to a native code base, as we saw later, and it's also used as a compiler, and it's showing you the errors when you are doing some mistakes in the code when we are doing like development. Package.json is used for libraries which we need, so we can install libraries, remove libraries, also like only JavaScript libraries, so we can add or remove them based on package.json, and as we will see later how we are going to call multiple libraries which we need to build our project. So this is a quick overview over the file structure of the React Native project. We will see later more and more detail about all of those files when we are going to build our project. Okay, in this lecture we are going to see how we can run the project on iOS simulator. So as you see here, we have the instructions about iOS that we need to navigate to our project, and then we have to run the command npx react native run iOS. Let's try that, but I would try it from our VS Code or Visual Studio Code. We are not going to use this terminal anymore, because you know that VS Code contain already the command line which is used for using or inserting commands which we need for our project. Okay, so let's take this recommendation and copy this command first, and then we go to Visual Studio Code. So when we close this command line, we go to Visual Studio Code. So to open the terminal in Visual Studio Code, you have to just press Ctrl J on Windows or Command J on Mac. So let's try that. and you will see that you will get the terminal and the bash file, or you can have as well the ZSH in Mac. So now we are going to paste the command which we had previously. But remember, you have installed already the Xcode and also the simulator. So we will see automatically that we have simulator, which will be on iPhone. So let's try that. It will take some time to run the project and include the packages. And as you see here, it's launching the iPhone 12. Is the simulator which I have installed previously, and now it's getting loading. So as you see here, the simulator got launched, and now we are building the application. So what we have here, that the simulator or the compiler is trying to build the project using the iOS project which we have created previously using our React Native command. And as you see, this process can take some time, so you need to be patient on it. It's depend on your memory of your PC and also the processor. Maybe you will notice the fan of the PC will get higher and the processor will get overloaded, but no problem, it will get calm when everything get launched. So now after the build got success, as you see here, we opened for us a new terminal, and in this terminal it's showing us the bundle project index.js got executed. And as I told you previously, that index.js contain the entry point for our application. And as you see here, we have all the compiler which is called Metro, and as well here we have the simulator and the application which is default comes by React Native boilerplate. So now when you are going to make a change in the code, for example, I am going to change this step 1, this sentence, to something else. So let's go there to the code and find in app.js, as I told you, it will be the entry point for our project. So here our app.js. So as you see here, the terminal which we opened previously, it's done and made its own job. So we don't need it anymore here. So when I go and search for step 1, it doesn't matter the code how you see it here. I'm going to explain it step by step, but let's change this step 1 sentence here. So I will change it, for example, to React Native course. And when I save, we will see the changes are immediately reflected to the phone. And this app will be a really native app. It's bridged by Metro to iOS project to execute JavaScript in iOS and convert it to a native application, as you see here. So every time I change something, it will be reflected here. So it will be very helpful for us for coding. You don't have to reload all the application again, because this is called hot reloading. So it's directly reflecting the changes which we are going to do. So when we are building the application, we don't need to reload on every change we are doing. So just save it and it will get directly immediately executed here. So this is the way how we are running the application. So when there is, like, for example, some mistake, as you see here, I'm going to make mistake, it will show you the error directly here. So on the phone itself, and also on Metro, the terminal which automatically opened, it will show you the exact line where the error happened. So you don't have to worry about the errors, so you can see them directly when you press save and you have a mistake already. So I put it back and the project runs again. So after you are making sure that you installed Xcode and as well you have downloaded a simulator, as I showed you previously, now we are able to run the project very easily and smoothly. So in this way, you will be able to run the application on iOS phone. Okay, now in this lecture, we are going to run our project on Android device. This device will be Emulator, like a virtual device, how we did exactly with iOS device. So now I am going to go to the documentation of Android or running on Android. So the same documentation which we were following, I want to say target Android. So now if we go down, we will see the command where we are going to run the project. So we have created a project previously, as you saw, and now we are going to run the project on a device. But here there are some instructions we have to do first. So first of all, we need to create a physical device or a virtual device. In this lecture, I am going to show you how to create a virtual device. So we have to follow the instructions which are written here, and also maybe they will get updated in the future after recording this course. But now you can follow this instruction which exists here. It will be the same always for the future. So first, let's create a new AVD. It's called virtual device, Android virtual device. So first we go to Android Studio, as you see here, and we click on configure, and then AVD manager. We click on it and we will have another window. And in this window, as you see, you can add your devices as you want. So there is default device which is used already in Android Studio, but we are going to use a default one, or one which is recommended by React Native documentation. So I will click on create virtual device, and of course it will be a phone. Of course, if you are developing for tablet or for example automotive or TV, it will be different, but still the operating system will be the same. So now we are going to select one of those devices. So I recommend, for example, to use the Pixel 3 or Pixel 2, no problem. So you can have a proper sizing of your application. So now we click on next. And then as you see in the documentation, they said that it's better to use Q system where we have 29 image. So if we go to the Android Studio, we have to search for x86 images. We have to go for images, and then we will select the one which is called Q. This one we have downloaded previously, as you remember, when we were installing Android Studio. And after that, you click next, and you give a name for this device, and you can choose if it's landscape or portrait, but it doesn't matter, you can change it during running time of the device. And then you click finish. After that, you will have the device is here. So now we need to run the device which we have installed. So after that, we can go here and we click on play button. So if you see this play button, then it's going to run the AVD. It will open a phone for you, virtual phone, exactly how we have done in iOS. The difference here that we have to run the phone manually here. And then we have to wait until the phone is taking off or it's launching. Then we have to do something to run our application on that device. So as you see here, we have now the device is running. Everything is fine. We have like a real phone. As you see here, it has camera, it has applications, and it's exactly like a real phone. So now we need to run the application which we have created previously with React Native on this phone. What we have to do first? First of all, they are recommending to find the device by AVD or command line of Android. So how we can do that? So for that, we need to make sure that really the device is attached to Android. I mean that React Native can see the device that we can run the application on it. So how we can do that? We can open a new terminal window in Visual Studio Code and run the command adb devices. So adb is like the command line which we have created at the beginning when we were installing Android Studio. So here when we run the command adb, it will have some options. One of them is devices. So when we click enter, we will see that we have Emulator 5554 device. If you don't see anything here, you have to make sure that you are running the emulator. Otherwise, you will not be able to run your application with React Native. After that, we need to run the application using also how we did previously with when we were running or we installed the application. So if you remember, we had this command which is called npx react native run android. You can skip this step because this command is going to run this command automatically after that, which is like running Metro as we talked previously. So now let's run the command which we have, run Android. When you want to run iOS, you just replace it with run iOS. So let's run now the application. Again, it's going to build it and it will take some time until it run the application on this device. You don't have to do anything, you just need to wait, and when it's finished, it will open a new terminal for Metro, and also you will see the application is created here. So I am going to put two simulators. One is the iPhone, which we made previously, and here the one with Android. And I am going to skip this video to make fast for loading and running the application. So as you see here, the building is finished and it's building the application on the phone slowly, and it's going to run the application, install it on the phone, and we will see exactly how we did with iOS. So as you see here, Metro is still running and bridging to the both devices. So now it's converting the JavaScript code to Android code and iOS, and it shows us this implementation here. So let's change something in the code. I am going just to make this smaller here, and then we can close this. And I am going to put, for example, a React Native course, and I will click Save, and we will see that the changes applied on both phones. So without any issue and without any problem. And as you see here, we have all the updates immediately, which is coming like hot reloading. So to see our application running, and we can do our changes immediately. So this is the way how to run the Android device. If you have any issues, you can go always to troubleshoot, which is located here in troubleshooting page. So here they were collecting some common issues, and they are fixing them through this troubleshooting, which you need always if you have some issues. So that's it. You just need, if you have problem, just go to troubleshooting or ask me in Q&A, or you can also ask on their GitHub repository for issues, and you can open a new issue and they will reply to you about how to fix it. But I hope if you follow my steps, which I explained to you, you will not have any issues when running your application. Some functionality which we are using on our Android device or emulator will not be available like how we have a real device. So also some people are suffering that Android Studio is very heavy for their computer and they have limited amount of RAM. So you know that Android Studio need a lot of RAM and a lot of resources. So for that you can also develop on your own mobile phone. So either it can be iPhone or Android. I'm going to show you how I am going to connect my Android device and I am going to develop on it. But first step we have to do that to make sure that the emulator is turned off. So we must turn off the emulator which is running on Android Studio. So you can click on this button which is called power, and then it will turn off for you the device totally. So after turning off the device, you need as well to close it from here. So you need to close the device totally from your machine and also from your emulator. You have to be sure that on Android Studio you have not anything running in your virtual devices. After that, we are going to move and install some program or application which is called Vysor. And this Vysor, you can go to the website vysor.io and you can download it for all your operating systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, and also you can install it on the browser using some extension. Okay, how we can use this Vysor? I already downloaded this application, and as you see here, I am running it on my device. So we have here two options, Android devices and iOS devices. I'm going to show how we can develop on Android device. So I am going to show you myself and then I am showing you how I am connecting my device and enabling the debugging mode, USB debugging mode, as it's mentioned here. Hello and welcome. I am Fadi and I'm going to show you how to connect your Android device to your computer. First of all, you need to use the original cable, USB cable, which is coming with the phone originally. So otherwise you will have some troubles with connecting to your PC. First, I'm going to connect it using this USB, and then you will have on the phone multiple options when you slide down or when you have the drop down. The drop down is saying like charging via USB, as you see here. But now what I'm going to click on this charging via USB. You will have multiple options. So this is different from mobile to mobile. So some devices, they are having only transfer photos, transfer files, charge only, and reverse charge, and input MIDI. So some devices works directly with the computer when you say transfer files, but some of them you need to have something called input MIDI, as my device saying here. I have Huawei phone and I have this option here. So I'm going to select this option at the end. So as you see here, and then the behavior of the device will be changed. So till now, as you see that Vysor didn't detect anything because we need to enable the debugging mode or developer mode. How we can do that? First of all, you need to go to settings on your phone. So I will go to settings, and in the settings at the end, you will see something about the phone. You click on it, and then you will have something called build number. And as you see here in the build number, I'm going to click multiple times on it. Like I will put my finger and do it like in a way that I will have option, like it will tell me down that you are now behaving as developer. Okay, now everything is fine. My device got as a developer, but we need to enable the USB Android debugging. So as you see here, we can as well search in the settings. So when I go to my setting on my device, as you see here, we have a search on the top. So we can search in the setting. And in this search, you can type Android or USB debugging, and it will be found directly as the second option of your options in the settings. We click on it, and then it will take you to something called developer options. And in this developer option, you need to enable the debugging mode. So you just scroll down and you will see USB debugging as you see here. So in USB debugging, you just need to allow it. So I'm going to allow that and click OK, and you will have like some notifications saying that Vysor is trying to connect to your device. Then you have to allow it. So you have to press, in this case, OK. So I press OK, and now everything is gone and is fine. And as you see on Vysor, that my device got detected. So when we go to my device on the laptop or the computer, when I click on play, I will see that my device is running on the emulator here. So I will have something exactly like the emulator which we had previously with Android Studio, and it will show a mirroring of my device here. So now, as you see, I have all the information or showing my phone totally live with this application. So with that, you can then deploy the application to your device, to your mobile, and then it will run on your mobile device. And the nice thing, it will be installed on your application and it will be saved here. So you don't have to bother yourself to install the application again or deploy it and then put it on your device. It will be already deployed on the device. So if you didn't see those options which I talked about before, it's here. So when I click, as you see, I have transfer photos, transfer files. Some mobiles have input MIDI. So something which is like music equipment. It doesn't work in other way, but some devices works with transfer files. So in that way, you need just to switch until your Vysor application detect this change. And in that case, you can select what you want. So let's continue and deploy our application to the mobile phone. See you then. Okay, so now as you see here, my phone is connected already to this Vysor, and we are going to deploy the application to this device. As I told you, you must make sure that the Android emulator which we installed with Android Studio, it must be turned off. So to make sure as well, we need to do the same steps as we did previously. So first, we need to run the ADB devices, as you remember here. So when I run ADB devices, my device will be detected automatically. This is the code of my device, and then it will be here. So please make sure that you have only one device in the list. Otherwise, the React application will not work properly. So let's run again the application using Android. I'm going to put the command again. So as you see, it's installing the application. It's going to install the application to my phone, to the physical phone which is connected to. So it will take also a little bit of time of building, but as you see here that it's getting faster than the emulator, because here the application got installed and got deployed directly to the device, and it's using the resources of the device. We don't have to use resources of the PC to debug the code and then deploy it there. So every time I do something with my application, I'm going to change here again course and save, and we will see that directly the change will be detected here. And also the simulator of iPhone is working and still working fine. So as you see here, you have a freedom. You can use emulator or iOS emulator or simulator, and also you can use your device. And as you see, you can also go offline. You can turn off the development of the application, and you will see the application is deployed to your device. So I will show you quickly. And as you see, the application is here, course project. So when I click on this application, I will see it directly opened. And also when I disconnect the phone, I will see still the application running without any problems. It's like installed to my phone. So this is a great feature because it's using the native Android. That's why I prefer to use React Native CLI than Expo. Expo as well, okay, you can run the application, but over some bridging which is called Expo application, you must have it installed on your phone and also on your PC. But here the application is getting installed directly and you can use it on your device. The easiest way to debug the application or mobile application is doing a logging. Logging, I mean that I do a console log as I show you before, that we have console.log and then we have a data. So console log, it will log for me in the terminal, but which terminal? The terminal which is running under Metro. The Metro bundler is going to show me all the console logs which I am doing, and it's like our console. So in this way, if you console log something and save the application, it's going to log the data there. But let's make this code simpler. You know that this is a little bit complicated, so we need to make this simpler so we can go step by step. If you go in the application itself, you will see something called the basics. It's like Hello World application. So let's click on this link and it will take us to something like introduction, and we will have here some example which we will be full application for Hello World. So let's copy all of this code. I am going to explain it later. So we go again to our application in app.js. As I told you, it's the entry point of our application. We delete everything and then we put this code. Let's open again the simulator and then we press save. So we are going to save our code. As you see, it's automatically formatted. And as you see here, I have here my application is debugged and loaded. So if I change this, I will say, for example, here, hello world. So just to be sure that everything is working fine. Okay, nice. We have here hello world. If we go to the parts of the application, you will see that it's very simple. So first we have to import React from React library, and also we need to import some components. Those components are used always in the application. As you know, React Native is not HTML or CSS. No, it's something like, we can say, components. We are using a components and then we call those components and place some data inside them to display them in our application. We will go in our course for the components which we will need to build our application. So for that, I am going to explain the components which we need for the course itself. So for example, we have here this view. This view is something like, you can say in HTML, is a div, and div which will contain, for example, something else, components inside, or for example texts or buttons or text boxes. So here, as you see, that this view is implementing as a div inside my application. Also, I can have view inside a view, so we can use like div inside div, exactly the same way. Text, if you want to place a text, you can use it as well, like you can place any text. It's like a span, or we can say paragraph, and then you can place the text inside the tag here. So now after that, we can say that our component app is called your app. We can say that this one, your app, is loaded here. So when I create my own component and place it here, then the component will be called inside my entry point of my application. So let's rename all of this. We can say this is app and this is app. It shows that this is a function, and this function return for me the React Native template, and this function will be exported and called in the index.js as you see here, and it will be loaded and register the main component as app, and app registry will do for me the running of the application. And this app registry, if we go to it, it's communicating with Android and also with iOS libraries to run the application and change it to a native app. We are not going to go in detail of this. We are going to do practical things. I don't like to do many theory. I like also to do always something practical. That's why my whole courses are in practical, because actually I like to learn from practical things. I need to see something in front of me. So let's do a console log. As I told you, we are going to do a console log. So the logging can be like, we can say the entry point of my application will be inside this function. So this function will return for me this template. But before that, you can write any JavaScript code as I told you. So JavaScript code, we can say console.log, and we can say hello world. So we can console log our things, and where I will see this will appear. It will appear in my terminal, which is called Metro, as I showed you, that it will run immediately after bundling the application. So let's zoom that. I want to make it bigger. And as you see here, we have hello world. Nice. So now if I go again to my application and change this, like we can say here, hello world. So we will see that the logging is still log here, and there is information which is called log. Okay, great. So let's define, for example, constant, define it up, constant, and I say x, and this x will have, for example, value, my course, and then I will put this. And now I am going to console this x. So we can remove this one, save everything, auto formatting is working fine. And as I go to the terminal again, I will see my course. Nice. So this is JavaScript. Actually, we are writing here JavaScript, which we are going to use inside our components. For this part, which is called styling, it's like styling but not CSS. It's React Native styling, and we will see later how we are going to style our application. I will talk about all the things which we need to style for our components. So in that way, you can console log and debug your application using the console of your application. Okay, in this lecture I am going to show you how to debug our application. Of course, debugging is a very great feature, so we can use it to track our problems. As I told you, okay, we can use console log, but it's better as well to use the debugging. There are two ways for debugging in React Native. First of them is using Google Chrome. Yes, using the browser. Of course, you can as well use the browser to debug your application. How we can do that? First, you need to click on your simulator, and then there is a shortcut you have to make it, which is Ctrl-D on Windows or Command-D on Mac. So when you click Ctrl-D, you will have a menu like this one. So you will have multiple options, one of them debug with Chrome. So when you click on debug with Chrome, it will open for you a debugger, so a debugging page. So as you see here, we can see that we have some debugging page, and this page contains some information so you can start debugging. Okay, so I'm going to create the debugger, how I can see how I can place a breakpoint in my Chrome. So first we have to open the DevTools. So how to open the DevTools? You just press F12. By pressing F12, as you see, I have here the inspector, the DevTools of Chrome. Okay, now I need to place, for example, a breakpoint. But where? How I can get to the file, which is, for example, for me, the app.js file. So first, if you remember, we have a console log here. So I'm sure if you open this one and open the console as well, you will see the message which we have printed. It will be located in the console here. So I put it like this. So when I press reload, I will see that my application got reloaded. So now we can see this message. So when I click on this app.js 6, it will show me in the code where I have placed this command, where I have placed this console log, and it will open for me the code exactly how I have it in Visual Studio Code. So in that way you can create a breakpoint. You know, in Chrome you can create a breakpoint by clicking on the line number. So when I click here, I created a breakpoint. Okay, let's reload now the app. And as we see that we have stopped on the breakpoint automatically. So now I can see and check the value of X, for example, by just putting the mouse over it, and I can see what's going on here. So when I want to go one more step, I click on this arrow. So we can go one more step, and then I will see that X has value my course. So in that way, we are doing debugging via Chrome. And of course, after you finish debugging, you press play and the application continue loading. So you cannot reach the app.js file exactly from the sources here, as you know always, but you need to place a console log, or you can enable this one, enabling the and pause on code exceptions. So when there is exception, it will show you in your application code where the exception is placed. Another way to debug our application is using Visual Studio Code Debugger. Visual Studio also provides with a debugger tool which we can use as well how we did with Chrome. But first of all, and very important information that you have to do before setting up the debugger in Visual Studio Code, you have to turn off Metro. The Metro, how it's opened in our terminal automatically when we run iOS React Native app. So in that case, we need to close Metro. The same thing can happen with Android. So let's close that. So I will just stop it here, like by pressing Ctrl C or Command C, and then I'm going to close it totally. And as you see here that we don't have any debugging anymore, and our application cannot be loaded, and we have now normal phone. So in that case, we are going now to set up a debugger using Visual Studio Code. So how we can do that? First, you need to go to this button. We can say run and debug. And then you will find here something like create a launch.json file. And launch.json file is the file where we are going to put the configuration for our debugger. So when you click on this link, then you will get some options. One of them must be React Native. But as you see here, I don't have this option because I must install the React Native tool extension, which I have told you before. This is React Native tools. So in a case that it doesn't work, sometimes it's asks you for reload. So you can just reload the application again, or clicking on reload, or for example you can just disable and enable it again, and you will have that option. So for example, I have here again, just to be sure that it's working. Okay, it's fine. Now I will click on debugging tool and I will create launch JSON file. Now I have React Native option. So if you don't have this option, just restart the extension and you will have it again. Okay, you click on React Native, then you will get another options. One of them is attach to packager. There are multiple debugging way, but for example, attaching to packager is the easiest one. So we can uncheck this one and add attach to packager. Now I am clicking OK, and it will generate for me a file, JSON file, where it has some configuration called attach to packager. And this attach to packager has some commands where it will work with my debugger. Okay, now we need to run our application. We are not going to run our application in a way how we did before. Like I will not go to command line and I will say npx React Native run iOS. No, we are going to let the attach to packager to run the application for me. So if I go here to the debug, of course, like if you are on the file list, you go again to the debugger, you will have button here. And this button, it's called run and debug. And you will have multiple options. One of them is attach to packager. It's based on the configuration which we have here in the launch JSON. And if you are curious to know where is this launch JSON is created, as you see, it will be in .vs code folder. As I told you before, that inside this folder we are putting some configuration which we share with the team, like a settings, like launch, like for example some recommendation for extensions, etc. So now we can add and run our application. So let's click on run, and as you see, it's going to run the application exactly how Metro is doing. If you remember that we have the same sign here, and now the packager got started. Okay, nice. But now my application didn't start automatically. So you need to do that and run it automatically or manually, sorry. So you just click on it, and you have, of course, as I told you, the application will be installed on your machine or on your device, and you just run it. And as you see, like the attacher is already knows that there is some phone is running the application. So now we can start debugging it. Okay, let's try to place a breakpoint. I'm going to put here a breakpoint on our constant which we create before, for example this one, and then save. So as you see, the debugging start to work. So I am going now step by step, and here I have the value of x, exactly how we had with Chrome. Okay, sometimes the breakpoint will not work for you because we need to activate the debug with Chrome. So I don't know, they are calling it activate debug with Chrome, but it should be like only activate debugging. So how we can activate debugging? If you remember, we pressed shortcut which is Control D or Command D on Mac, and sometimes you need to press multiple times Control D because it doesn't appear fast. So you have to do it multiple times until it appear. So now after that, you see here start debugging with Chrome, and then you click on it. If you don't click on that, for example, I'm going to stop the debugging, and then okay, I need to continue my application. Okay, let's continue. You see, there is no any response anymore because it's not attached to the debugging, because I cannot now debug my application. This breakpoint cannot see what's happening in the application. So it's very important to activate debug with Chrome. Okay, it's written with Chrome, but it's with anything which is like attached to packager. So we can just write here attached debugger or debug with Chrome. Now I can place my breakpoint, reload the application. I stopped on the breakpoint. So you must be sure that of two things. First, close the Metro, the terminal which we closed at the beginning. Second, you must enable the debugging here in the dev tools of the application how we have it here. Another important information if you want to stop debugging, because you know that debugging is making the application very slow, so you need to stop the debugging. You have to stop the debugging by doing many things. First, you need to click on this stop debugger, and also stop debugging in the DevTools as you see here, and as well you need to find a command by pressing F1, and in the F1 you need to search for React Native stop packager. It's very important to do that, because otherwise the packager is still running in the background, and when you run the packager again or you run a new application, it will tell you the packager is already running, and you will not know because you stopped everything and you stopped it from here and it's still running and you don't know from where to stop it. So the best way to do that is by doing and pressing F1 and finding stop packager from React Native command, and then it will stop the packager totally, and you will be able to run, for example, the application again as normal as we saw in the terminal, or you can run it again with attached to packager. By mentioning the error which I told you, maybe you will get this issue as you see here, that you would get another debugger is already connected to packager. Please close it before trying to debug with VS Code. So this is very important. So you need as well to stop the packager, as I told you here, stop the packager stopped, and you need also to check the terminal, everything is fine, you don't have anything running, and also the terminal which we have used here, so you need to know that or close it totally. So I have it here, quit. Okay, you have now on your phone disconnected from Metro, and then you run attached to packager and the application will run again. So as you see, I have it running again, but I don't have any application. So you just need to open the DevTools again, and for example, maybe you can say reload the application just to get it connected again, and as well debug with Chrome to activate the debugging with breaking points. So all of this troubleshooting you have to take care. Watch this video multiple times if you have problems, then you will know how to debug with VS Code.